You work harder than your parents ever did, yet you can afford less. The game changed in 1971. Nobody told you the new rules favored those who already won. The invisible theft to generations. Same country, completely different realities. Your father walked into a bank at 23, shook hands with a loan officer, and walked out with a mortgage. One income, one job. A 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. Your mother stayed home until you started school, then worked part-time. They took vacations. They saved money. They retired comfortably. You're 32, you and your partner both have college degrees, you both work full-time. Combined, you earn more than your parents ever did, even after adjusting for inflation. And yet that same 3-bedroom house might as well be on another planet. The down payment alone would take you a decade to save. Something fundamental broke between their world and yours. Most people blame themselves. They think they're not working hard enough, not smart enough, not disciplined enough. But the problem isn't you. The problem is that the entire economic foundation shifted beneath your feet, and nobody told you the rules had changed. Between 1975 and today, $79 trillion moved from the pockets of working Americans into the accounts of the wealthiest 1%. Not billion, trillion. That money came from somewhere. It came from you, from your parents. From every person who worked a job, earned a paycheck, and watched their purchasing power evaporate. The median worker should be earning an additional $32,000 annually right now. That's not opinion, it's mathematics. If wages had continued growing at the same rate they grew from 1945 to 1975, the average American worker would take home $32,000 more each year. Money that would change lives, pay off debt, buy homes, fund education. Where did it go? August 15, 1971, Sunday evening. President Richard Nixon interrupted regular television programming with an emergency announcement. He declared that the United States would no longer honor its commitment to convert dollars into gold. The Bretton Woods system was finished. Nixon promised this was temporary. He assured Americans their dollars would remain stable. Everything he said turned out to be false. After 1971, money became nothing more than numbers and computers and ink on paper. The Federal Reserve could create new dollars by simply deciding to create them. The money supply became elastic, expandable, infinite. And when you create new money, you're not creating new wealth. You're dividing existing wealth into smaller pieces. This is the $79 trillion theft, and it's still happening every single day. The Cantillon effect. There's a name for what happens when new money enters an economy. It's called the Cantillon effect. It's named after an 18th century economist who discovered something crucial that most people still don't understand today. Money doesn't spread evenly, it flows through specific channels, benefiting those closest to its source first and reaching everyone else last, after prices have already risen. Think of the economy as a massive water system. Workers fill the reservoir through their labor, their productivity, their time. But when central banks create new money, it doesn't rain down equally on everyone. It gets injected at specific entry points. Banks receive it first. Financial institutions, large corporations, government contractors, wealthy investors with access to cheap credit. These early recipients get to spend this new money while prices still reflect the old money supply. They buy stocks before markets surge, purchase real estate before housing prices spike, invest in assets before inflation hits. By the time this money trickles down to your paycheck, everything costs more. You're always late to the party. This mechanism is invisible to most people because it happens gradually. You don't see the Federal Reserve creating money and handing it to banks. You don't see those banks lending it to hedge funds and private equity firms. You don't see wealthy investors buying up assets at yesterday's prices. You only see the end result. Your grocery bill went up, your rent increased, your savings by less than they did last year. The Cantillon effect explains why financial markets can boom while working-class neighborhoods struggle. Why billionaires got richer during a pandemic while small businesses closed forever. Why stock portfolios double while paychecks stagnate. The people closest to the money printer win. Everyone else loses. In 2008, banks gambled with mortgages, created a financial crisis, and got bailed out with trillions of newly created dollars. Those banks didn't go bankrupt. Their executives kept their bonuses. Meanwhile, millions of Americans lost their homes, their savings, their jobs. The money went to those who caused the crisis, not those who suffered from it. That's the Cantillon effect in action. New money flows upward first, always. The Great Money Expansion 2008 marked the moment everything accelerated. When Lehman Brothers collapsed and the financial system teetered on the edge, central banks made a decision that would reshape wealth distribution for generations. They opened the floodgates, September 15, 2008. Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, holding over $600 billion in assets. The investment bank that had survived the Civil War, 2 world wars, and the Great Depression simply ceased to exist overnight. Bear Stearns had already collapsed months earlier. Merrill Lynch sold itself to Bank of America in a desperate weekend deal. AIG, the insurance giant, was hours from implosion. The financial system was eating itself alive. Banks stopped lending to each other because nobody knew who would survive the next 24 hours. Credit markets froze. Stock markets plunged. Retirement accounts evaporated. The unemployment rate surged past 10%. The global economy stood at the precipice of complete collapse. Then came the rescue. But not for you. The Federal Reserve began creating money on a scale never seen in peacetime history. The U.S. government passed TARP, authorizing $700 billion to bail out financial institutions. The Federal Reserve went far beyond that, ultimately creating over $7 trillion through various emergency programs. Who received this money? Bank of America got $45 billion. Citigroup received $45 billion. JP Morgan Chase took $25 billion. Goldman Sachs took $10 billion. AIG alone received over $180 billion in bailouts. The insurance company that made catastrophically bad bets got rescued, while homeowners lost everything. AIG executives received over $100 million in bonuses the year after the bailout. Bonuses for failure. The bankers kept their jobs, their bonuses, their vacation homes. Almost none went to prison. Meanwhile, 9 million American families lost their homes to foreclosure. 8 million people lost their jobs. Retirement accounts lost trillions in value. Small businesses closed permanently. The middle class got decimated, while Wall Street got saved. From 2008 to 2023, the global money supply more than tripled. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet exploded from under $1 trillion to nearly $9 trillion at its peak. $8 trillion, created in 15 years, more money printed than in the entire previous history of the Republic. Then came 2020, the pandemic hit, and money creation went into overdrive. In 2021 alone, American billionaires gained $2 trillion in wealth. During a global health crisis, while unemployment lines stretched for miles, the wealthiest individuals posted record gains. Politicians praised the recovery. Nobody talked about the greatest wealth transfer in modern history happening in real time. The printing presses ran, the rich got richer, and everyone else got the bill in the form of devastating inflation. The American dream becomes unaffordable housing was supposed to be the pathway to wealth for ordinary Americans. Own a home, build equity, pass something down to your children. For generations, that formula worked. Then it stopped working for most people. In 1971, the typical American house cost 2.5 times the median annual household income. A family earning $10,000 could reasonably afford a $25,000 home. Save for a few years, make a down payment, get a mortgage, and start building wealth. One income could do it. Today, that same calculation looks completely different. The median house costs over $400,000. The median household income sits around $83,000. That's nearly 5 times annual income. But the real number is worse. When you factor in property taxes, insurance, interest rates, and down payments. You need a household income of roughly $117,000 just to afford a median-priced home. Most families don't earn that much. Most never will. 30 states now require 6-figure household incomes to afford median housing in their markets. Not luxury estates. It's not waterfront properties. Basic middle-of-the-road houses, the kind your parents bought with a single paycheck, now requires 2 high earners just to qualify for the mortgage. California, New York, Massachusetts demand incomes exceeding $200,000 for typical homes. Even traditionally affordable states like Montana, Idaho, and Tennessee have seen housing costs surge beyond the reach of average workers. The map of homeownership opportunity keeps shrinking. Education followed the same trajectory. College tuition that once cost a summer's wages now requires decades of debt. A bachelor's degree that guaranteed middle-class stability now guarantees six-figure student loans with no corresponding increase in earning power. Healthcare transformed from a basic service into a luxury good. A single hospital stay can bankrupt families. Prescription medications cost more in America than anywhere else on Earth. Insurance premiums consume larger portions of household budgets every year. Asset inflation versus wage stagnation. The economy is doing great. At least that's what the headlines say. Stock markets hit all-time highs, corporate profits break records, GDP grows steadily, unemployment stays low. By every official measure, prosperity abounds. So why does your bank account tell a different story? Because there are two economies operating simultaneously in the same country. One economy runs on assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities. The other runs on wages, paychecks, salaries, hourly work. These two economies experienced completely opposite outcomes over the past 50 years. Asset prices exploded. Stock market increased over 30 times since 1980. Real estate values in major cities grew 5, 10, even 20 times their 1980 levels. Corporate bonds, private equity, venture capital, all delivered massive returns to those who owned them. Wages flatlined. The average worker's real paycheck, adjusted for inflation, has roughly the same purchasing power today as it did 40 years ago. 40 years of work, education, productivity, improvements, and technological advances. Yet the typical American worker can buy approximately the same amount with their paycheck as someone in 1980. The divergence is brutal. Those who own assets got exponentially richer. Those who rely on wages stayed exactly where they were or fell behind. Who owns the assets? The top 10% of Americans own 87% of all stocks. The bottom 50% owns essentially nothing that inflates. Most Americans own their labor, a checking account, maybe a car. These things don't benefit from monetary expansion, they get crushed by it. When the Federal Reserve creates money and pumps it into financial markets, stock prices rise. Bonds rally. Real estate appreciates. The wealthy watch their portfolios grow automatically. Workers watch their grocery bills grow instead. This is why your experience doesn't match the economic news. Statistics measuring economic health measure asset performance. Your life runs on wage performance. Assets are soaring, wages are stagnant. Economy is booming for people who own things. The economy is failing for people who work for a living. Your savings account is being drained. You do everything right. You work hard, earn your paycheck, and save money like responsible adults are supposed to do. You watch your savings account balance grow month by month. $10,000, $20,000, maybe $50,000 if you're disciplined over many years. You feel secure. You feel responsible. You think you're building wealth. You're not. You're losing money every single day. At $10,000 sitting in your savings account earning 0.5%. Interest is being quietly destroyed by inflation. The Federal Reserve targets 2% inflation annually. Sounds small, sounds manageable. Retirement's devastating. At 2% inflation, your money loses half its purchasing power every 36 years. What $10,000 buys today will require $20,000 to buy in 36 years. The dollars still exist. The number in your account doesn't change, but what those dollars can actually purchase gets cut in half. Compounding makes it worse. First year, you lose 2%. Second year, you lose 2% of what's already less. Year after year, the erosion accelerates. After a decade, that $10,000 only buys what $8,000 would have bought when you started saving. After 20 years, it's down to the purchasing power of $6,700. Your savings account isn't saving anything. It's bleeding value slowly enough that you do, in notice until years later when you try to spend it. Retirees get destroyed by this mechanism. They worked 40 years, saved diligently, and retired with what seemed like adequate money. Then inflation eats through their fixed income year after year. Their dollars buy less food, less medicine, less of everything they need. They can't go back to work. They can't earn more. They just watch their security evaporate. Traditional financial advice says save in cash, keep an emergency fund, be conservative. That advice made sense when money held its value. After 1971, that advice guarantees you get poorer. If your money isn't growing at 7% or more annually, you're not keeping pace with real inflation. You're falling behind. Saving money in dollars means losing wealth in slow motion. Who controls the story when grocery prices spike? Politicians blame greedy corporations. When housing becomes unaffordable, they blame foreign investors and supply shortages. When wages stagnate, they blame workers for not getting better skills. There's always an explanation that points away from the real cause. The narrative stays remarkably consistent across decades. Inflation is always temporary. Inflation is always caused by external shocks. Oil prices, supply chains, war, pandemics, weather. Anything except the deliberate expansion of the money supply by central banks. This isn't accidental. Whoever controls the money supply controls the distribution of wealth. Central banks, operating with minimal oversight, can create trillions of dollars and decide where it flows. They work closely with treasury departments, which work closely with financial institutions, which work closely with the largest corporations and wealthiest investors. The system is designed to look independent while functioning as a coordinated wealth transfer mechanism. When asset prices soar, the media celebrates. Record stock markets mean prosperity. Rising real estate values mean a healthy economy. Nobody mentions that these rising assets are priced in an inflating currency. Nobody points out that the people who don't own assets are getting systematically poorer. When consumer prices rise, suddenly inflation becomes a problem, but the blame gets redirected. Corporations are price gouging. Workers are demanding too much. Consumers are spending irresponsibly. The actual cause, monetary expansion, stays hidden in technical economic language that most people don't understand. History shows this pattern repeating. Ancient Rome debased its silver currency to fund endless wars. The coins looked the same but contained less silver each year. Prices rose. The empire blamed merchants. Then it blamed barbarians. It never blamed the mint producing worthless money. Weimar Germany printed money to pay war debts. Prices doubled every few days. People needed wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread. The government blamed speculators and foreign saboteurs. It never admitted that printing unlimited currency destroys its value. Every civilization that inflates its money supply eventually collapses. Every government blames external forces rather than its own monetary policy. The story stays the same across centuries. The future that's already here, the headlines celebrate the great wealth transfer. Over the next 25 years, $124 trillion will pass from baby boomers to younger generations. It sounds like good news. Millennials and Gen Z inheriting unprecedented wealth. Financial security finally arriving for struggling generations. Look closer at the numbers. That wealth isn't spreading, it's concentrating. Half of that entire transfer, over $60 trillion, comes from just the top 2% of households. The wealthiest families passing money to their own children. The bottom 50% of Americans will inherit almost nothing because their parents have almost nothing to pass down. Wealth that took generations to build during an era of broader prosperity now stays locked within the families that already have it. The inheritance economy replaces the opportunity economy. Your financial future depends less on what you achieve and more on what family you were born into. Home ownership illustrates the problem. Previous generations built wealth by buying homes with wages they earned. Current generations will only afford homes through wealth they inherit. Work no longer leads to property ownership for most people. Only inheritance does. This creates a society fundamentally different from the one America claimed to be. Mobility dies. The middle class stops being a destination you can reach through effort and becomes a club you're reborn into or excluded from. Young adults already feel this shift. They're not planning to buy homes through saving. They're waiting for parents to die. They're not building retirement through careers. They're hoping for inheritance. The entire economic model shifted from earning to inheriting. What happens to everyone whose parents don't own assets? What happens to the majority who won't inherit wealth? They rent forever. They work until they physically can't. They retire into poverty or don't retire at all. Societies with extreme wealth concentration become unstable. When the gap between rich and poor grows too wide, social cohesion breaks down. Political extremism rises. Trust in institutions collapses. History shows this pattern clearly. Inequality beyond a certain threshold destroys civilizations from within. Understanding is escape, and the $50 trillion question, this wasn't an accident. The $79 trillion transfer of wealth came from deliberate decisions made over decades. Ending the gold standard was a decision. Rescuing banks while families lost their homes was a decision. Expanding the money supply at historic levels was a decision. Steering that money into financial markets instead of wages was a decision. Every step required approval. Every step had beneficiaries. The system didn't break, it was rebuilt. Once you see that, the confusion lifts. Falling behind wasn't personal failure, it was structural. After 1971, the rules changed. The strategies that worked for your grandparents stopped working. Saving cash no longer protects you. It guarantees a loss of purchasing power. Working harder doesn't ensure progress. Loyalty doesn't buy security. Playing by old rules in a new system means moving backward every year, even when you do everything right. The wealthy figured this out early. They don't hold large amounts of cash. They hold assets. Property that rises faster than inflation. Stocks that benefit when new money enters the economy. Businesses that generate income regardless of what a dollar is worth. Commodities that retain value when currency weakens. Their financial lives are built around ownership, not savings. They also understand debt differently. In an inflationary system, debt can work in your favor. Borrow at 3% when inflation runs at 7%, and the real value of that loan shrinks every year. Buy a rental property with a mortgage, let tenants pay it down, and inflation reduces the burden while the asset appreciates. This is the core reality. Savers lose, asset-holding debtors win. That reality should change how you view your own money. An emergency fund earning 0.5% while inflation runs at 5% isn't safety, it's a guaranteed loss. Your purchasing power is being drained quietly year after year. The solution isn't reckless speculation, it's preservation. Assets that hold or grow value over time. Real estate in areas people are moving to. Broad market funds tied to productive businesses. Skills that create multiple income streams. Physical assets that remain useful regardless of currency value. The goal isn't to get rich fast, it's to stop getting poorer slowly. You also need to understand how money enters the system. When new money is created, it doesn't reach workers first. It goes to financial institutions. Asset prices rise before wages do. Stocks move up. Real estate gets more expensive. Commodities jump. By the time higher prices hit everyday goods, the advantage is already gone. If you own assets, you benefit. If you rely only on wages and savings, you pay for it. This isn't about becoming a market expert. It's about understanding the rules of a game you're forced to play. Money is created constantly, flows to assets first, and wages last. Inflation erodes purchasing power predictably. These ideas aren't complex, they're just rarely explained. That $79 trillion wasn't abstract. It showed up as homes not bought, retirements cut short, education turned into debt, medical care delayed, opportunities lost. Every dollar transferred upward came from someone else's future. Ask yourself if that was random. Did the same system that enriched those in charge somehow fail everyone else by chance? Or did it do exactly what it was designed to do? Look at the incentives. Central bankers come from major banks and return to them. Treasury officials follow the same path. From their perspective, the system works. Now you see it. You understand the mechanism. That awareness is the starting point.